So this is just a quick tutorial on how I use the Cinch. Scrapbooking.com has probably the best tutorial on YouTube that I've seen for using the Cinch. So I won't go into it as much detail as they do, but this is the one that I have, which is the original. There is a newer one out now that's blue, and I think the only difference with the new one is how you press the wires together in the back, because so many people were smashing their O wires. It wasn't working out well for them, but I've kind of figured out the touch on mine, so I've been able to use it just fine. So on the Cinch, the journal that I'm making right now is 8.5 by 11. Now you'll notice it has ruler guides here and instructions, so you don't have to worry about losing your instructions. They're printed right on the panel itself, so you can't lose your instructions. There's also ruler guides right there, and then there's also the holes that you can pull out. You can pull out these individual pegs if you don't want a hole in a certain location. So that's what's really nice about the Cinch, is you can customize where you want your holes. But I'm going to do a very basic one. So to do a test sheet, you'll always want to do a test sheet before you use your main project. So my project is 8.5 by 11, so I have a corresponding sheet of cardstock here. The first thing you do is make sure all of those pink pegs are pushed in. If you want all your holes, then make sure they're all pushed in. If you want to get creative and start pulling them out, you can. But for this particular case, I'm going to make sure they're all in. Then you make sure this guide, it pulls out and in. I make sure it's all the way in, and I unhook my handle from the elastic, and the handle goes up. So then I go against the edge and just line it up very easily and very gently pull down. So after I've pulled down, you can see how nicely those holes are, but you still need holes on this portion of your 8.5 by 11. So you pull the guide out all the way. So it pulls out to a full, I think, 13 inches. So you put this against the guide here. Put the paper all the way up to the edge of this guide right here, all the way there. Then there's this little black dot here. That's a peg. And what that peg will do is it'll hold your paper in place right there. So then you go back to your instructions, and for 8.5 by 11, you want to make sure to pull out peg number 10. If you leave 10 pushed in, you're going to have a half circle cut on the edge of your paper, and you don't want that. So again, you look on your guide. This sheet is 11 inches long, so it says for 11 inches, pull out peg number 10. So I pull out peg number 10. Same thing, hold your paper in place, gently pull the lever down, and pull straight up. Take your little black peg up, and there you go. So here you can see very easily and very evenly you have an 8.5 by 11 that it completely has its holes in it. Now for mine, I don't quite want as many holes. I mean, I still want a lot of holes, but not quite as many. I think I'd like 2 off the top and 2 off of the bottom. So I'm going to kind of play with this sheet of paper and see if I can acquire that. So to do that, I'm going to put my peg number 10 back in again. So I'm going to kind of show you maybe how you can do a little bit of a customization here. So say this is the top of my journal. I don't want the first top holes at my journal. So I'm going to pull 2 holes out. Push down. Pull my guide all the way out. You can see it skipped. It did not punch those 2 holes. I put my paper all the way at the end of the guide. Push it all the way up again. Place my peg holder for that hole right there. Again, I already knew I needed to take peg 10 out because that was going to give that half hole, but I also want to take out 2 holes from the bottom, so I'm going to pull out 9 and 8. push down, pull up, take my peg up, and there we go. Now, we can see I missed a hole. It's okay, you can go back in. But you can see I have the spacing I was looking for. You see the difference? I have the 2 blank space at the top and the 2 blank space at the bottom. The reason why I have these 2 holes here is I forgot to reinsert peg 1 and 2. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Your alignment is already set. Put your peg guide in. I'm going to now punch holes 1 and 2. Since I already punched all these other guys, just to avoid a double punch, I'm pulling everybody out except 1 and 2. So I put 1 and 2 in, push down, up, peg out. Look at that, completely perfect. So you can even mess up like I did and it still comes out completely perfect because the guide is there and you have the flexibility to pull out the holes whenever you need to. So can you see the difference? There's this row where I left those out, and then there's this row where I have a full 8.5 by 11. So I really like this one, so this is what I'm going to do on my cover because that will allow for those metal embellishments that I was wanting to put on my metal covers. So I'm going to skip the 2 at the top and the 2 at the bottom. So I hope that helped you figure out how to use the cinch. When I actually bind my book, I will do another tutorial on the cinch, on binding with the cinch. But when you're ready to store it back, just flip that there. This is the cutters. I bought this separate for the O-wires, and I just keep it there with my cinch so everything's in the same place. So I hope that kind of lets you see what using the cinch is like. It's really easy, helps keep things really lined up, and the binding is really nice because of having these little hangers on the side as well as the squeezy on the back. So I'll be back after I finish putting my journal together.